Jake Morrison felt small as he walked into the huge meeting room. The walls were made of crystal that seemed to glow from inside. Around him sat the most powerful beings in the galaxy. They were all looking at him and his human team with cold eyes. The Kethron were tall warriors with 4 arms and skin like metal. They looked down at Jake like he was a bug. The Vastai were pale and thin, with big eyes that seemed to see right through him. The Zephyrians wore dark armor and never smiled. All of them were judging the humans. Jake stood straight, even though his heart was beating fast. Next to him, Amy Rodriguez kept her face calm. She was his second in command on this mission. Behind them stood Dr. Lisa Carter, who studied alien life. They were the only humans in a room full of beings who thought they were weak. High Counselor Vexler stood up. He was a Kethran with scars on his face from many battles. His forearms moved as he spoke. We are here to talk about the humans and their place in our galaxy. Jake knew this was not going to be good news. For months, the other species had been whispering about humanity. They said humans were afraid to fight. They said humans always ran away when things got dangerous. The humans have shown us what they really are, Vexter continued. When the Outer Rim Wars started, they pulled back their ships. When we needed explorers for the Savage Nebula, they said no. When the Hive attacked the Centauri colonies, they only sent medical supplies from far away. Other aliens in the room nodded. They made sounds of agreement. Jake wanted to speak up, but he knew it would not help. The truth was more complicated than what they were saying. Humans had learned hard lessons from their own wars on Earth. They had fought each other for thousands of years. They had learned that sometimes backing away saved more lives than fighting. But these aliens only saw the backing away. They did not understand the wisdom behind it. We think, said a Zephyrian commander, that humans should only do support jobs. They can carry supplies and help with medical care. Leave the real fighting to those who are brave enough. The words hit Jake like a punch. Support jobs. That meant humans would never be trusted with important missions. They would always be seen as the weak ones who hid behind others. Amy put her hand on Jake's shoulder. She could see he was getting angry. Dr. Carter shook her head sadly. She had worked with many of these species before. She knew how smart and capable humans were, but they did not see it. All in favor of this motion? Vexler asked. Hands, claws, and tentacles went up all around the room. Only the 3 humans voted no. Jake felt sick as he watched. 20 years of trying to build friendships with these species. 20 years of proving that humans were valuable partners. All of it was being thrown away. As the meeting ended, Jake heard pieces of conversations around him. Cowards, said one alien. Weak mammals, said another. They have no stomach for real work. The 3 humans walked out together. None of them spoke until they reached their ship. Once inside, Amy finally let her anger show. 20 years, she said. 20 years of building trust, and this is what we get. Lisa sat down hard in her chair. They have no idea what they just did. They think they know us, but they do not understand humans at all. Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, their homeworld. He would have to go back and tell everyone that humanity had been rejected. They were now second-class citizens in their own galaxy. Send a message to Earth Command, he told Amy. Tell them we have been classified as a support species only. No combat missions, no dangerous exploration, no colony defense. Back on Earth, the news spread quickly. Admiral Peter Collins called an emergency meeting. All the top military leaders came. The mood in the room was dark. So we are support only now, said Colonel Sandra Brooks. Her voice was bitter. After everything we have done for them. Maybe this is their mistake, not ours, said General Ray. Harper. He was an old soldier who had seen many wars. Maybe they will learn what human determination really means. Admiral Collins looked at the reports from the meeting. They think we are cowards because we choose our battles carefully. They think we are weak because we try to save lives instead of just winning fights. None of them knew that something terrible was waking up in the dark parts of space. The Devourers had been sleeping for thousands of years. They had destroyed whole star systems before. Now they were starting to move again. When they came back, the galaxy would learn the difference between being a coward and being smart. They would learn that sometimes the bravest thing to do is know and not to fight. But that lesson would cost them more than they could imagine. The humans went back to their ships, carrying the shame of being called cowards. But deep inside, they knew the truth. They were not cowards. They were survivors. And when the real test came, they would show the galaxy what that meant. The stars looked the same as always, but everything had changed. Humanity was now alone, in a galaxy that did not understand them. But they had faced worse odds before. They had survived wars that nearly destroyed their own planet. They would survive this too, and maybe, just maybe, they would prove that being careful was not the same as being afraid. The warning came without any sound. One moment the Kepler 442 system was sending normal reports. The next moment, there was nothing. The signal just stopped in the middle of a sentence. Commander Alex Turner was working late at Proxima Station when the first alarm went off. He was a quiet man who liked to check things twice. His job was to watch the communication signals from all over the galaxy. When systems went quiet, he wanted to know why. "What do we have?" he asked his team. "Kepler 442 just went dark," said Lieutenant Gary Stone. "No warning. No distress call. Just stopped talking." Alex frowned. Systems did not just stop talking. There was always a reason. Equipment broke down, but slowly. Wars made noise. Natural disasters left signs. This was different. Within 6 hours, 3 more systems went silent. Then 5 more, then 10. Each time, the signals just stopped. No explosions, no calls for help, nothing. It was like the entire systems had just disappeared. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Their best scientists looked at the data. They found nothing. No pieces of broken ships, no energy from weapons, no trace of what had happened. The systems were just gone. Dr. Kevin Walsh worked in the science section of Proxima Station. He was older than the others and had spent his life studying old records. Something about the pattern of disappearing systems seemed familiar to him. "I have seen this before," he told Alex. "Not in real life, but in the old archives. Very old archives." Kevin spent 3 days going through records that most people had forgotten. They were written in dead languages about wars that happened long ago. Most scientists thought they were just stories. But Kevin found something that made his blood run cold. "The Devourer War," he said, showing Alex the ancient files. "It happened 50,000 years ago. An enemy that ate entire star systems. The records say they did not just destroy things. They made them stop existing." Alex looked at the old writing. It was hard to read, but the pictures were clear. Systems going dark one by one. Fleets sent to investigate, never returning. Whole civilizations vanishing without a trace. "You think this is the same thing?" Alex asked. "The pattern is exactly the same," Kevin said. "And look at this. The ancient records say the Devourers went to sleep after their last attack. They said they would wake up again someday." Alex sent an urgent message to Earth. The human government needed to know about this. While he waited for a reply, more systems went dark. The disappearances were getting faster. Meanwhile, the other species in the galaxy were getting ready for war. The Kethran Empire sent their biggest fleet toward the missing systems. 500 warships, armed with the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. They were sure they could handle any threat. The Zephyrians followed with their own fleet. Their ships were fast and deadly. They had never lost a battle. The Vos Tai sent their psychic warriors, beings who could fight with their minds. All of them were confident they would win. What they found was horror beyond their understanding. The first reports came from the edge of the Dark Zone. A Kethran scout ship sent a confused message. We cannot find any enemies. The space itself seems wrong. The stars are aging before our eyes. Then the scout ship went quiet too. Admiral Collins on Earth received the scattered reports that managed to get through. Each one was more frightening than the last. The Kethran Third Fleet, 200 of their best ships, had simply vanished. No explosion, no battle, no debris. They were just gone. "Sir," reported Captain Danny Carter from the Constitution, "we are getting strange readings from the combat zone. The space there is not behaving normally. It is like reality itself is breaking down." The few survivors who made it out told impossible stories. They talked about enemies that existed in many places at once. They described space folding like paper. They said their weapons passed right through the enemy without doing any damage. One Zephyrian pilot, barely alive, whispered about things that eat the universe itself. He died before he could explain what he meant. Dr. Rebecca Stone worked at the research base on the moon. She was humanity's expert on ancient history. When she heard about the Devour War, she started looking for more information. What she found made her afraid for the entire galaxy. "The Devourers do not just destroy," she reported to Earth Command. "They consume the energy that holds atoms together. When they attack a planet, it does not just die. It stops existing. Even the memory of it fades." The galactic military leaders did not want to believe it. They had faced many enemies before and won. They thought this would be the same. But their fleets kept disappearing. Their warriors, trained for centuries, were helpless against an enemy that fought outside the normal rules of reality. The Vos Tai, who could read minds, tried to understand the Devourers. The psychic warriors who made contact went insane. They babbled about hunger that eats thought itself. Before falling into comas, they never woke up from dot as more reports came in. The truth became clear. The galaxy's greatest military forces were being wiped out. Species that had ruled star systems for thousands of years were running in fear. The proud warriors who had called humans cowards were learning what real terror felt like. In desperation, the Galactic Council sent a message to Earth. It was short and simple. "We need your help. Please advise on defensive strategies." Jake Morrison read the message twice. The same beings who had called humans cowards were now asking for advice. Amy Rodriguez shook her head in disbelief. "Now they want our help," she said, "after they told us to stay out of the way." But as Jake looked at the reports of entire civilizations disappearing, he knew this was bigger than hurt feelings. Something was killing the galaxy, and it was getting stronger. The question was whether humanity would risk everything to help. The species that had rejected them, the answer would decide the fate of every living thing in the galaxy. The meeting room on Earth was packed. Every important leader was there. They had been talking for 18 hours straight. The question was simple but hard. Should humanity risk everything to help a galaxy that had called them cowards? Senator Maria Gonzalez was against it. "We could stay out of this fight," she said. "Let them deal with their own problems. Our colonies are far away from the danger. For now," said Dr. Stone. "But my research shows the Devourers consumed almost half the galaxy last time. They will not stop until everything is gone. That includes us." General Ray Harper looked tired. He had been studying the reports all night. Every normal way of fighting has failed. The Kethran are some of the best warriors in the galaxy. The Zephyrians have never lost a battle. The Vostai can fight with their minds. None of it worked. Admiral Collins brought up the war records on the big screen. Look at this. Every time they tried to fight the Devourers directly, they lost. Every single time. The enemy is not playing by the rules we know. Jake Morrison spoke from the communication screen. He was still out in space, watching the disaster unfold. There is something else. I found more information in the ancient records. There was one species that survived the last Devourer War. The old texts call them the persistent ones. What made them different? Asked Amy Rodriguez. They did not try to destroy the Devourers. They could not. Instead, they focused on getting people to safety. They would fight holding actions and then fall back. They saved billions of lives by not trying to win battles. They could not win. The room went quiet. Everyone was thinking about what that meant. Dr. Carter spoke up first. You are talking about a fighting retreat. Not running away, but backing up slowly while protecting as many people as possible. Ugh. Galaxy called us cowards, Jake said quietly. Maybe it is time to show them what human cowardice can do. The decision was not easy. Many people were angry about how the aliens had treated them. But in the end, humanity chose to help. They called it Operation Shepherd. Instead of trying to fight the Devourers, they would focus on saving lives. Every human ship was given new equipment. Scientists worked day and night to build quantum dampeners. These devices could make space more stable around Devourer attacks. It would not stop the enemy, but it might slow them down enough to get people out. Captain Lucy Evans commanded the first human fleet to enter the danger zone. Her ship was called the Resilience. It was not the biggest or strongest ship, but it was built to last. Behind her came 50 other human vessels, all ready to do something the galaxy had never seen before. The first test came at a Kethron system. The Devourers were already there, eating the star itself. The space around the system was twisted and wrong. Other fleets had tried to fight here, and been destroyed. The Kethran planetary governor was confused when Lucy contacted him. Where are your weapons? He asked. Where are your battle formations? We are not here to fight, Lucy explained. We are here to get your people out alive. The Kethran thought she was joking. Their culture was built on honor and battle. The idea of running away was shameful to them. But as their star began to collapse, they realized they had no choice. The evacuation took 3 days. Human ships worked without stopping. They used their quantum dampeners to create safe paths through the broken space, while the Devourers consumed the system. Humans loaded every ship they could find with refugees. It was dangerous work. The space around them was falling apart. Several human ships were damaged by the strange energy. But they kept working. When a Kethron transport broke down, human engineers fixed it. When civilians panicked, human medics calmed them down. On the 3rd day, the star finally died. The system began to collapse into itself. But by then, over 4 million Kethron civilians were safe. The human fleet had saved them all. The rescue was broadcast across the galaxy. Some species began to understand what humans were really doing. Others still called it cowardice. But as more systems fell, and only human-led, evacuation succeeded. Opinions started to change. Colonel Sandra Brooks was put in charge of refugee efforts. She had to find places for millions of displaced aliens. It was hard work, but she was good at it. She got a message from a Vostai commander that surprised her. We were wrong about your species, the message said. This is not cowardice. This is something we do not understand. Something we should have learned long ago. More human fleets joined the effort. Captain Tony Miller saved a Zephyrian colony. Commander Janet White rescued a Vostai research station. Each time, they used the same approach. Get in, get people, Out, do not try to fight what cannot be fought. The Devourers kept advancing, but they were finding fewer people to consume. The humans were always one step ahead, emptying systems before the enemy arrived. It was not winning the war, but it was saving lives. Dr. Walsh made an important discovery while studying the enemy. They are not random, he announced. The Devourers target systems based on quantum energy. If we can predict where they will go next, we can get there first. This changed everything. Instead of reacting to attacks, humans could prepare for them. They started arriving at systems days before the Devourers, setting up evacuation routes. And organizing the population, the galaxy began to notice. The Vostai sent diplomats to Earth. The Kethron Empire asked for human advisors. Even the proud Crystalline Confederacy wanted to learn evacuation procedures. But the Devourers were learning too. They began to target human ships specifically. They had figured out that humans were the biggest threat to their feeding. The war was about to get much more dangerous. Jake Morrison received the latest intelligence reports. The enemy was adapting, becoming smarter. Soon, just running away would not be enough. Humanity would have to find a new way to fight, or the galaxy would fall. The species that had called humans cowards were now depending on them to survive. It was ironic, but there was no time to enjoy it. The real test was coming, and humanity would have to prove that sometimes the bravest thing to do is know when not to fight. 3 months had passed since the Devourers woke up. The galaxy was falling apart. 17 star systems were gone completely. The great military powers had lost most of their fleets. But something new was happening. The human evacuation plans were turning into something bigger. Dr. Kevin Walsh was working late in his laboratory when he made the discovery. He had been studying the way the Devourers chose their targets. For weeks, he thought they were random, but now he saw the pattern. They are not random at all, he told the emergency command meeting. The Devourers pick systems based on quantum energy levels. If we can predict which systems have the most energy, we can guess where they will go next. Admiral Collins looked at the data. How accurate are these predictions? About 80%, Kevin said. Good enough to get there first. This changed everything. Instead of just reacting to attacks, humans could prepare for them. They started arriving at systems days before the Devourers showed up. They set up evacuation routes, organized the population, and prepared quantum stabilizers. Captain Tony Miller was commanding the Defiance when they tested the new approach. They arrived at the Vega system 3 days before the Devourers. The local aliens were confused at first. "Why are you here?" asked the system governor. "There is no attack happening." "There will be," Tony explained. "In 3 days. We need to get your people ready to leave." The aliens thought he was crazy, but Tony had learned to be patient. He showed them the data, the patterns, the proof that the Devourers were coming. Slowly, they began to believe. When the Devourers arrived, they found empty planets and no quantum energy to eat. The systems were useless to them. They moved on faster than before, looking for better targets. 4th successful evacuation, Tony reported. "We got everyone out, and the Devourers are moving on. It is like they are getting frustrated." The strategy was working. But the real test came at Zephyria Prime, the home world of the Zephyrian Empire. The Zephyrian High Command refused to evacuate. They were proud warriors who would rather die than run away. "We will make our last stand here," announced Admiral Korath, the Zephyrian Fleet Commander. "We will show these creatures what honor means." Jake Morrison tried to change their minds. Honor will not stop the Devourers. Nothing can stop them, but we can save your people. "A warrior does not abandon his home," Korath replied. "We will fight." Jake knew he could not convince them, but he also could not abandon an entire planet. He made a decision that would change the war. Then we will fight with you, but we fight our way. The combined fleet was strange to see. Human ships flew alongside Zephyrian warships. But the humans were not preparing for a normal battle. They were setting up something the galaxy had never seen before. We are not trying to destroy them, Jake explained to the Zephyrian admiral. We cannot destroy them, but we can make them angry. We can waste their time and energy. The battle began when the Devourers reached the edge of the system. The Zephyrians wanted to charge straight at them. Jake convinced them to try a different approach. Hit and run, he said. Attack fast, then back away. Make them chase you. While they are distracted, the evacuation ships keep working. The fight was unlike anything in galactic history. Human ships used new tactics they had developed. They dropped quantum mines that disrupted Devourer formations. They coordinated strikes designed not to kill, but to annoy. They made the enemy work harder for every bit of energy they consumed. The Zephyrians were confused at first. Their culture was built on direct combat. But they began to see the wisdom in the human approach. Instead of dying gloriously, they were actually helping people escape. They are adapting, reported Amy Rodriguez from her command ship. The Devourers are spending more energy trying to catch our ships than they are getting from eating the system. The battle lasted for 6 hours. The Devourers grew more frustrated as the humans kept slipping away. They had to use their own energy to chase ships that would not stand still and fight. Meanwhile, evacuation transports continued to work under the cover of the battle. When it was over, the Devourers had consumed the system, but gained almost no energy from it. They had spent more than they had eaten. The evacuated population was safe, and the enemy was weaker than before. The Zephyrians were amazed. They had expected to die in glorious battle. Instead, they had learned a new way to fight that actually worked. You saved our people, Admiral Korath told Jake, and you made us part of something bigger than ourselves. News of the victory spread across the galaxy. The Vostai sent a delegation to Earth asking for training. The Catherine Empire requested human advisors for their remaining fleets. Even the proud Crystalline Confederacy wanted to learn the new tactics, but the Devourers were learning too. They began to target human ships specifically. They had figured out that humans were the real threat to their feeding. The war was entering a new phase. Captain Lucy Evans was leading an evacuation at the Rigel system when the Devourers showed their new intelligence. Instead of just consuming the system, they sent part of their force to hunt down human ships. They are focusing on us, Lucy reported as her ship, the Resilience, dodged twisted space attacks. They know we are the ones organizing the resistance. The situation was getting more dangerous. Human casualties started to rise, but the evacuations continued. Every saved life was a victory against an enemy that fed on death and destruction. Doctor. Rebecca Stone made another discovery that gave them hope. The Devourers are not infinite, she reported. They have limits. Every time they use energy to attack us instead of feeding, they get weaker. We are winning a war of attrition. The galaxy was united now in a way it had never been before. Species that had been enemies for centuries were working together under human leadership. Not because humans were the strongest, but because they were the only ones who understood how to fight this war. The final battle was coming. The Devourers were heading for the galactic core, where the biggest source of energy waited. If they reached it, they would become unstoppable. But humanity had learned how to make them waste their strength. The question was whether they could do it one more time on a scale big enough to save the entire galaxy. The final battle was coming to the center of the galaxy. The Devourers had consumed enough systems to start their ultimate plan. They were heading for the giant black hole at the galaxy's heart. If they succeeded in eating it, everything would be destroyed. They are not just trying to feed anymore, Dr. Rebecca Stone reported from her research station. They want to become pure energy. If they eat the galactic core, they will become so powerful that nothing can stop them. The fleet that gathered to stop them was unlike anything in galactic history. Ships from every species flew together under human command, not because humanity was the strongest, but because they were the only ones who knew how to fight this war. Admiral Collins now led the combined fleet. He looked at the massive force around him. Catherine battleships flew next to human destroyers. Zephyrian fighters worked with Vostai cruisers. The Crystalline Confederacy had sent their best ships. All of them were ready to follow human tactics. "We are not here to win a great victory," Collins told all the ship captains. "We are here to buy time. While we keep the Devourers busy, the evacuation of the core worlds continues. Every minute we hold them gives billions more people a chance to escape." The core worlds were the oldest and most populated in the galaxy. Trillions of beings lived there. Getting them all to safety would be the biggest evacuation in history. But it was the only way to save them. The battle began at the edge of the galactic core. The Devourers had grown stronger from their feeding. They were no longer just hungry creatures. They had become something like gods of destruction. Space itself bent around them as they moved. Captain Lucy Evans commanded the Resilience, leading a group of evacuation ships. Her job was to create safe paths through the chaos while the battle raged around them. It was the most dangerous mission of her life. "Core evacuation is at 30%, she reported to the command ship. "We need more time." "Then we will give you more time," Jake Morrison replied. He was leading a squadron of human ships in a direct attack on the largest Devourer. It was a suicide mission, but someone had to do it. The Devourers had learned to focus their attacks on human ships. They knew that humans were the key to the resistance. But humans had learned too. They fought in small groups, always moving, never staying in one place long enough to be caught. "Hit and run," Jake reminded his pilots. "Make them chase you. Waste their energy. Every second they spend trying to catch us is a second they are not feeding." The space around the galactic core was breaking apart. Stars aged thousands of years in minutes. Planets cracked and fell into pieces. The Devourers were using their full power now, trying to end the resistance once and for all. But the humans would not give up. They had been called cowards, but they were showing the galaxy what real courage looked like. It was not about charging into battle. It was about doing what needed to be done, even when it meant certain death. Jake's squadron made their final attack on the giant Devourer. They flew their ships directly into the creature's energy field. The ships were destroyed instantly, but the explosion created a gap in the enemy's defenses. It gave the evacuation fleet precious extra time. "Jake is gone," Amy Rodriguez reported, her voice breaking. "His sacrifice bought us 2 more hours." The evacuation continued. Captain Tony Miller led refugee ships away from a dying star. Commander Janet White rescued civilians from a space station that was falling apart. Dr. Kevin Walsh used his science ship to create stable corridors through the chaos. All across the core region, humans were dying to save others. They had become the heroes they never thought they could be. Not through strength or superior weapons, but through their willingness to sacrifice everything for strangers who had once called them cowards. "Core evacuation is at 70%, Lucy reported. Her ship was badly damaged, but she kept working. "We need just a little more time." The final phase of the battle was the most desperate. The Devourers were close to achieving their goal. They had begun to consume the black hole itself. If they succeeded, the resulting explosion would tear apart the fabric of space and time. But humanity had one last trick: the quantum dampeners. They had been using all along were not just for creating safe paths, Dr. Stone had discovered they could be linked together to create a massive stabilization field. "Deploy all dampeners," Admiral Collins ordered. "Link them into a network around the galactic core." Hundreds of human ships activated their quantum dampeners at the same time. The devices had been designed to create small areas of stable space. But when they worked together, they created something much bigger. The stabilization field spread out from the human ships. It reached the Devourers just as they were trying to consume the black hole. The field trapped them in a paradox. They were trying to become pure energy, but the dampeners were forcing them to stay in normal space. "They are caught," Dr. Stone reported, watching the readings. "The Devourers are stuck between two states. They cannot become energy, but they cannot return to normal matter either. The ancient enemies of the galaxy were frozen in place. They existed, but they could not interact with the normal universe. They were trapped in their own power, locked away from the reality they had tried to destroy. The battle was over. The galaxy was saved, but the cost had been enormous. Thousands of star systems were gone. Trillions had died. The survivors would have to rebuild their civilization from almost nothing, but trillions more were alive because of what humanity had done. The evacuation fleets had saved more lives than anyone had thought possible. The species that had called humans cowards now owed them everything. The new Galactic Council met on New Centauri, one of the emergency capitals set up for refugees. The great chamber was filled with representatives from every surviving species. But the place of honor was reserved for humanity. "We called you cowards," High Counselor Vexther announced. His 4 arms were spread in a gesture of deep respect. "We were wrong. We thought caution was fear. We thought strategy was weakness. You showed us that the greatest courage is knowing when not to fight." Admiral Collins accepted the honor quietly. He was now the Grand Admiral of the new Galactic Defense Force. "We did not save the galaxy through strength," he said. "We saved it through something every human child learns. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is know when to run away." The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. In their rush to prove their strength, they had forgotten the value of wisdom. Human cowardice had been revealed as something much more important. It was the ability to think beyond immediate victory to long-term survival. The ceremony ended with a moment of silence for all who had died. Jake Morrison and thousands of others had given their lives so that others could live. They had run toward danger so that billions could run away from it. The memorial to the fallen bore a simple message. They were called cowards, but they became heroes. In the end, that made all the difference. The galaxy would never be the same. The proud warrior races had learned that sometimes the greatest victory comes from knowing when not to fight. The cowardly humans had saved them all by understanding that preservation was more important than destruction. And in the quiet moments between the stars, the survivors remembered that heroes come in all forms. Sometimes they charge into battle. Sometimes they lead others to safety. But always, they do what needs to be done, no matter what others might call them. The galaxy was safe, and humanity had finally found its place among the stars, not as warriors or conquerors, but as the guardians who would always choose to save a life over winning a fight. It was a lesson that would guide them for generations to come.